Hey guys, it's Lord here, back again with another review, and today we'll be taking a look at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Rebirth Clayface Megafig. Now before we get into it, let us first take a look-see at both the front and the back of the packaging. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now before we get into the meat and taters of this review, the Rebirth Clayface does come with a collectible trading card, which features some photography of the very figure you see before you. And while I always say how much I prefer artwork from the source material, this photograph here is actually based off of artwork from the source material, so can't give them too much shit here. That said, there is a bio on the back of the card. Pause and read it now at your own leisure. But for those of you who don't know who Clayface is, he's Giant Clayman. Not to be confused with the In Flames album of the same title. That said, he also comes with a hockey puck stand, which seems very unnecessary in this case specifically because no feet? Question mark. But at any rate, let's now take a closer look at good old Clayface here. And to my understanding, this is not the, is it Matthew Hagen version of Clayface? This is the Basil Carlo version of Clayface. The more modern, kind of good guy-ish Clayface. And I'm okay with that because it kind of works as both. Both him and Matt Hagen do have similar looks aesthetically, so I'll take it. Excuse me. But at any rate, he is a hunk of burning plastic. This thing is massive. Considering I only spent $30 on it, that's right, I saved money because my dad's a Target Cult Circle member. I can't be happier with this figure, especially since I avoided the $200 price tag on Jessica Cruz Bullet to complete that old Mattel Collected Connect Clayface. And can I just say, I know everyone loves that figure. It gets a lot of praise. It's freaking boring compared to this. Like, just look at this. The most interesting things about that Collected Connect are that it has a nose and an extra row of teeth. This thing has multiple faces, rock protrusions, asymmetry, just goopy, drippy Clayface madness that I like when I get a Clayface figure. So you know what? I'll give this one the same amount of praise all day long. Despite the fact it's not as articulated, I still really like this figure. I do have a gripe with this midsection though, but we'll get into that in just a moment. So as far as articulation goes, his head is on a double ball peg, and it really just kind of spins around like this. I did have to heat this to get it to work without breaking it or anything, so be wary of that. Yours might be a little stiff like mine was. That said, he does have an opening mouth, so he can be all Clayface. But I don't know, that amuses me for whatever reason. You can see he's got his big drippy lip there and his ugly yellow teeth and yellow eyes, just looking all kinds of ugly and monstrous. Face only a mother could love, right? As far as the shoulders go, they do hinge out to the side. I mean, pretty far for a big guy. They are on those ball joints, so they just kind of whoop down because there's no cap in there. And be careful when you're rotating these. You might hear loud like clicks and things. It's not a ratchet, it's you're hitting this hard plastic, which, to give you an idea, this is similar plastic to that of the gargoyle wings from NECA. Probably a little bit better, but it is a hard plastic, while this is more of a very, very hard PVC. And I would have maybe preferred that for this, but I know why they did it. It's to lighten it up a bit, so it wasn't so heavy. That said, you do get really decent range out of this elbow, considering all that's going on. Not so much on this side. This side moves like 2 clicks. This side moves like at least 4 or 5. And then you do get your rotation down there as well. That works really well. And then he also has rotation in that wrist, as well as a hinge. And I will tell you, of the two sides, this side was the easier to move right out of package. I'm not quite sure why that is, but this side I didn't have to heat per se, but it was really tricky to get this to move. I had to be careful with it, but it wasn't too terrible, I guess. And now the torso. He's got this rubber kind of overlay piece in the midsection, which I know why they did it. It's to get you the range, right? But I would have preferred if this and the diaper were one solid piece, because this likes to hike up on him when I crunch him forward like this. Which, by the way, killer range for a big dude. So when I straighten him out here, this sock piece kind of gets stuck up in there, so I'm constantly pulling on his mud butt flaps here to pull this down. And it is made out of pretty thick rubber, but it is rubber nonetheless, so I don't really see myself posing this guy a whole lot, just so I don't jeopardize the longevity of that thing. That said, he also has rotation, but you really get that in the waist. Let me move that out of the way so I can show you. It really comes into play down in the waist. And it works really, really well. And you do get some tilt. Really well implemented tilt in there. So, can't say I have any gripes with the articulation in the torso, other than it does kind of hike up his midsection sock there. His mid sock? Is that what you want to call it? And as far as his legs go, they are very minimal. They do kick in and out really well, and forward and back. He's got a thigh cut, which works really well. He's got a swivel in the knee. Then he also has a hinge in the knee, which gives you about that much range on this side, and I think a little bit more on the other. And then nothing in the feet, because, well, he doesn't really have any feet to speak of. He's just got giant mud puddles, or clay puddles, whichever you prefer. And can I just say, this guy is a bad case of mud butt. Look at that. I don't know. I never claimed to be mature. I never claimed to be immature either, but you guys should know what you're getting here at Overlord Productions at this point, anyways. But I really dig this figure, man. The fact that he was only 30 bucks as opposed to the 40, and I didn't have to get, what, 6 figures to build him? I'm gonna count that as a win. Despite the fact that I'm not crazy about his midsection, I think that could have been better. Or at least one piece. I would have taken the loss of range, because this is Clayface. He's mostly just going to be standing there looking cool, but at any rate, he's a solid figure. I really dig him. And if you want a Clayface, this is probably your best bet, because it's definitely the most affordable one at this current time. I don't really see it bringing down the price of the Mattel ones, but you know, I've been wrong before. But with that being said, let's now move on and take a look at some size comparisons. First up, here's our new Rebirth Clayface Megafig next to the Collect and Connect Rebirth Clayface, which I unfortunately was never able to finish because I refused to pay almost $200 for some piece of shit Green Lantern figure. Next up, here he is alongside a couple of standard McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse figures, Batman and Nightwing. And last but certainly not least, we have our two regulars, the Mythic Legion's Predaman Nebulous 11 Spawn, who's not towering over everyone today, because if I'm being quite honest, I think this Clayface Megafig could probably eat good old Al Simmons here for, well, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Make your pick, I guess. But with that being said, time to wrap things up. Some final thoughts. Overall, and if like me, you don't want to pay upwards to $200 for some piece of shit Green Lantern figure just so you can get the legs to complete your Mattel Collected Connect Clayface, I don't think 30 to 40 bucks for this guy right here is all that bad. Considering the fact that A, you're getting what you're paying for, and B, this is my ideal version of Clayface. When I think of Clayface, I think of asymmetrical, drippy, gooey madness. And that, to me, is Clayface to the T. Nothing against the Mattel one, but to be honest with you, it just seemed kind of boring to me. There wasn't a whole lot interesting things going on with that figure, aside from the fact he had a nose and a second row of teeth, which, yeah, I could take or leave that, to be honest with you. But this guy right here, he has everything I like in a Clayface and even more. Although I am a bit concerned with the longevity of the midsection. I wish they maybe just made that one piece instead of two separate rubbery pieces, especially considering the fact that the one side likes to hike up on mine and get stuck in the torso. I mean, that's not ideal, right? But on top of the fact that I also had to heat the head up on mine so I didn't break it off, I didn't have a whole lot of issues with this guy. And I think he's a solid addition to anyone's McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse collection, or even, again, if you missed out on that old Mattel Clayface, both of them that is, I think he's a good addition to that collection as well, because Clayface is meant to be a larger character, and really, I don't think you need all the articulation in the world to get a good Clayface figure. I mean, to be honest with you, up until this point, the DC Collectibles Batman the Animated Series Clayface was my favorite Clayface, but now I think he's officially been dethroned. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you are so inclined, please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you know whenever I upload more reviews like this one. If you haven't already, please hit me up on Instagram at Overlord Productions. But as always, keep the comments civil, because the world sucks enough as it is, especially when you got a bad case of mud butt. And until next time, I'll catch you guys later.